So on the last video on the channel, you see the new rebuild project, this 2018 Mark III Volkswagen Touareg. The Touareg was a non-runner, but we got it running by changing the pyro fuse.
2, 1. Yes!
Hi everyone, so part 2 on the Volkswagen Touareg. I want to say thank you to you all. The first video got a brilliant response and a lot of new subscribers. So if you are new to the channel, welcome. Just a little heads up as well. The only reason this video is coming out before the final video on the Audi A6, it's just the weather, guys. So the Audi A6 is finished. I've roughly done about 500 miles, the test miles. So that car is all ready now to go for sale. Literally, I'm just waiting for this rain to stop so I can film the nice cinematics, take photos of this car finished so I can get it for sale. And obviously I want to do the draw for that competition for the free tools. So if you are new to this channel, on the Audi A6 videos, I am doing a free competition for some free Halfords tools. So have a watch on those videos. You've got some time, obviously, until that final video comes out. Also, the Audi A1 has now sold. That car's gone up north. By the way, guys, if you see any other cars in the background, they're not future projects. I just rent this one space inside this corner and I've got one parking space outside. So I'm going to put it on time lapse quickly just to get the car jacked up on axle stands, remove the wheels and the wheel arch liners, and then we'll get dismantling this front end to see what parts I need to rebuild this car. The arch line's just held in by loads of Torx screws, and then I'm just using a pick here to clean the mud out of some of them, and then I loosen them off by hand, and then I use an electric ratchet to remove them. This early into the video, and I've already got good news. Just removing that arch liner, we can see the passenger side chassis leg, obviously the outer side of it, and there's no kinks or bulges this side, you know, towards the back of the vehicle. And at the front, there's no kinks, bulges, no signs of it coming over, even all the way up to the, obviously this end is where the front panel, the crash bar, etc. is bolted up to. Obviously, I still need to look at the inner side when the front end's off. Yes, you're probably thinking, of course, Nathan, it's not going to have structural damage, cat end. I've said it in many videos, you can still have structural damage on a cat end because it's been wrongly categorized. So now that wheel arch liner is removed, I need to repeat that to the driver's side. I'll do that off camera, guys, quickly. I'll clean up my mess as well with the mud. You're on a clean workspace. And then we'll get on to the front bumper. So you have to start on the grille before you actually can take the bumper off. There are some hidden screws. Well, I did start tidying up, but as expected, more mud's come. So I did just remove the wheel arch trim that goes around here. Obviously it starts here and goes along to the bottom of the bumper because the actual workshop manual for this car states that's the first thing you need to remove. So I've already removed the top bolts for the grille, the obvious ones. So now I need to remove the top engine cover. That's not just an engine cover on this car, this is the airbox lid as well. So basically to remove that, see this metal just here, and then you've got one the opposite side, just getting behind it. And then literally, I'll try and do this one-handed, guys. 2 seconds. Problem is, now it's on axle stands. I'm short, and now I can hardly reach. Right, that's removed. I've not seen an air filter like this on a VAG car. It looks more like a Mercedes. So now that's removed, I've got to just remove these ducts just here, and the lever for the bonnet. So that operates, obviously, the bonnet matches. To remove that, there's actually a push button. I'll just quickly do it and then I'll show you. So that's pressed in and then that will lift up. If you can see here, you press that in, then the lever will pull off. Right, those ducts are off. Move all this plastic shrapnel everywhere. Basically, you remove them because you've got 2 screws that are hidden down here, which is on the side of the grille. So that's the only reason you're removing that top piece, so you can get to them. There is another 2 screws. There's one that's actually through the grille, one through here. Normally you would actually remove the Volkswagen emblem, but as this grille was broke, I managed just to pull it slightly, use a T30 Torx on a ratchet, and get to that screw just here. So with the grille removed, it then exposes the upper bumper bolts. Yes, normally on a car, the upper bumper bolts are up here, but as you know, the grille's on this car. So yeah, it exposes those bolts. You've got a few underneath. A couple goes through the under tray and then into the bottom of the front panel. A few on the sides. I think there's one, yeah, one up here. Passenger side, it's already done for me. Slowly starting to see the damage now. So some good news, the radar, which is normally I think £700 new and roughly about £200-300 second hand, has not been touched. So that's some good news there. I'm getting close now, so all the bolts are now removed. I'm just going to do the wiring harness plugs. So just removing that front bumper, I've got brilliant news already. Let me get this bonnet down just so I can show you. I know I need to carry on dismantling this front end, but I just thought I'd show you guys. We know the impact's just here. It's totally missed the crash bar. It's totally missed the lower brace, the condenser. Obviously, you've got the ambient air temperature sensor here. You've got the AC pressure sensor just here with the AC lines. Obviously, they go into the wheel arch. They're aluminium lines. None of that's been touched. Passenger side only has an auxiliary radiator. Yes, the shroud is broke. That's the remaining part of the shroud just here. But the actual radiator itself has not been touched. With the boost pipe to the intercooler, you've got the map sensor. None of this and the horn either side. None of that's been touched. It's literally from here upwards. So that brace here is not a structural brace. That bolts up. One bolt either end, and I think a few in the middle. So what that brace is for, it's just like a holder for this foam, and you see this silicone pipe that has a sensor either end connecting to the silicone pipes. That's for the pedestrian sensors. So it doesn't have to be a big massive accident. It can be a slight tap on a bumper. If this little pipe gets squeezed or kinked, that then activates, which then makes the bonnet actuators pop, which pushes your bonnet up on the back. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I think they go off in case. Hopefully, this does not happen to you guys. In case you hit a pedestrian, they're not going to fly into the window. I think it's just try and take some of the impact, so they're not going over the car and just stopping at the bonnet. But like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. So yeah, so that's that bit. There's a couple of broken bits just here. They're not very. I had a quick look on parts link. They're not very dear. And like we know, front panel, the headlight. Also, this wing bracket is a wing bracket slash headlight bracket because the headlight bolts bolt through here. Just giving you a heads up, guys, but unfortunately where this headlight's being pushed in, it's a bit like the A6 on video. It might be looking like Jesus. Now if you look a bit brutal, I'm gonna have to rip this headlight out. It's jammed in here and here. So if I show you the driver's side, if you can see that gap just there, that's why if it looks a bit brutal on video, it's because obviously where it's been squashed. Like I know, the headlight's fully broke, as you can see. It's seen better days. It's just the modules I'm after off this headlight. So I'm going to carry on. So where that headlight's been squashed in, there's not that much space on top. As you can see, it was very close. There's no gaps where there should be. So the first thing I'm going to do before I remove this headlight is undo the plug from underneath. Yeah, you're not going to put a new lens on this headlight, unfortunately. Look at the state of that body. As you can see, massive hole. And listen, more good news, there's no damage behind the headlight. It has rubbed a little bit of paint off just here. I guess plastic headlight, where it's been shunted that way, it's just took a little bit of the paint off. And the wing bracket slash headlight bracket, you can see the witness marks where it originally bolted down. Obviously where it's been pushed that way, that's why you can see the marks just there, but that's going to get replaced when I build this front end back up. Now the passenger headlight's been removed, I'm now going to remove the good side, the driver's one, not in the same way like I did that side. I'll remove the bolts, undo the wiring harness plug and pull it out carefully. So then once that's done, I'll remove the passenger wing and then we'll get on to the actual front panel. So remove the crash bar, the front panel, etc. And we'll do some more further investigation just to make sure there is no structural damage. And then we'll see what parts I need for this front end so I can get them ordered and we'll get cracking on with this rebuild. So that's the wing now removed, and yet again guys, there is no damage behind the wing and along here. Even the AC pipe's not being touched. I've just put all the cables up here out the way so they don't get stood on by accident, and I have put it on back on its wheels off camera, due to I'm now finished in this area stripping and looking, you know, if there's any damage. Obviously it will have to go back on actual stands when I build it back up. And another reason, I'm not very tall. This is quite a tall car. When it's on actual stands, you think when I got to take this front panel off now, there's quite a bit of weight just here. Yeah, this height, I feel like it's more manoeuvrable. I'm not tiptoeing, trying to remove all this rad pack. That's just a disadvantage of being short, unfortunately. So apart from putting the wheels on, taking the actual stands off, there is one last thing I have done off camera. So that's all the wiring harness plugs on this front end. I've labelled everything up, what they're for. I've also taken photos of the routes, the direction they go, like obviously the release cables. If you can see here, these plastic clips with like the metal teeth, where some of these will clip onto plastic objects. I've just taken photos of obviously where. That's one way to remember, because obviously if I'm going to order all the parts now and they take a week to come, at least then I can quickly look on all the photos and reroute them how it was done from factory. So it's now time to get this front end off. So I'll start with the brace, which has got that pedestrian sensor, what I was showing you guys earlier, the crash bar, you know, just slowly get into it, and then this whole front end will be off. So I've just stopped the time lapse for a second because I think I've struck gold again with this car. I kind of roughly knew what parts was damaged from looking in the engine bay, because obviously part of that bumper was hanging down. I could see the front panel was damaged, but I could not see the rad pack. When I say rad pack, condenser, intercooler, radiator, and the fan behind. So I was just having a look on eBay. What's the sort of prices for a rad pack kit for this car? Most cars these days, they can vary between £500 to £800 a complete kit. How much do you think it was for this car? £1,800. Jesus, that's correct, guys. £1,800. I was like, these prices are starting to add up now. I understand it's it's not a cheap £2,000 car, but is this going to be worth it? And honestly, this car is going to be worth it, because look, remember I was saying earlier, I was showing you on the videos, the damage was above the crash bar. Crash bar is not being touched. So this is where the crash bar bolts up to, the end of the chassis leg. And if you can see, the front panel's literally started to be broken from here upwards. It's fully split, it's gone in multiple places. But that's the, let me just zoom out, that's the condenser, intercooler, radiator. None of this has been touched. It did just clip. So basically this is the air guide for the radiator. These clip, you have one either side. If you see that clip just there, so that clips in, you'll hear it click. That's fitted. If you can see here, it's all broke. That clip piece is missing. It's missing now because I think it's in the bin. I unclipped it from here. I put it on the floor and I've swept up now. Yeah, so this part, if this was broke, you can't just replace this little piece. This is part of the end tank of the radiator. You'd have to replace the complete radiator. It's not broken, guys. It's missed it. I don't know how, honestly, all this is not broke. Now I only need a front panel because the crash bar is good, these three and the fan's good, just the front panel. I found one on eBay secondhand, but it's in Ireland. They wanted €350, which I think eBay converted it. I think it was roughly £250, if I remember rightly, 250 or 280. But where mine's damaged on the top, theirs was damaged on the bottom. They still want that amount of money. There's no other second-hand front panels on eBay. They're only as a complete kit. Brand new from dealer, this is roughly, I think, just over £400. So instead of £1,800, it's now going to cost me 400 and something. Let's just say 400 for now. I'm really, really chuffed. So the reason I haven't removed these on time-lapse, basically what I'm going to do with the rad pack, the radiator hoses goes through the front panel into the radiator. That's why they're disconnected. I've drained the fluid. But the AC pipes, where they go into the condenser, you've got two. There's a lot of length on these, if you can see. These go around the back and up. They don't go through the front panel at all. So this is the new AC gas. So I think it's R1234YF. That's roughly £120. And then I'll have to get someone to come here and degas it, so I can obviously take these pipes off. I'm not going to do that with this. I'm going to save some pennies. Every little penny helps, as they say. My plan is to remove this rad pack. So the condenser is clipped on to the intercooler, and the intercooler is clipped on to the radiator. So the only thing that's actually held on to the front panel by bolts and a few plastic dowels is the radiator, because these two are connected to the rad. The fan is also clipped onto the rad from behind. So all I need to remove is these two plastic dowels, one either side. Underneath there's a rubber bush that goes through the radiator into the front panel with a screw either side. So remove the two top, remove the two bottom. I'm gonna then pull this towards myself as one complete unit. I'm gonna prop it up for now. Then I don't need to drain the AC gas. So the auxiliary radiator, I haven't removed that because we know that's not damaged, the actual rad, but the fan cowling is. Fan cowling on eBay secondhand, 75. From Volkswagen, it's roughly £40 something plus that. That's retail price. I do get a trade discount, but I just tell you guys the retail prices. You see what I mean? It's cheaper from main dealer than it is eBay. That's why I'm always going on about it. You know, half my rebuilds are always mostly genuine brand new parts, because I can get them cheaper than second-hand off eBay. I would like to reuse second-hand parts, you know, recycle. But if they're more dearer than brand new genuine, I'm not going to do that. I don't think anyone would, you? Yeah, so the reason I'm not removed that as of yet, the radiator's all good, the fan cowling's damaged, like we know. All the brackets are all good. So there's one bracket that goes to the front panel with this rubber bush. That rubber bush actually goes in this part of the front panel. And then obviously the bolt just expands it. This bracket's all good. There's another bracket that bolts up to the wing/headlight bracket. That's straight. This is damaged at the top, like we know. So my plan is I'm going to get a brand new genuine one from Volkswagen, get that painted, because as you can see, some of it's in colour and some of it's not. So the bits what you can physically see when you open the bonnet is in colour. Get that new one painted, and then I can just fit it to the car and fit this at the same time, because this is not going to be in the way when I remove all this. So that's the rad pack and the damaged front panel now removed. The rad pack's currently propped up. I've got it over as much as I can so I don't stretch those AC pipes, so I can show the inner part, the chassis leg, etc. And as you can see, radiator fan has not been touched. And the back of this side, if you can see on that camera angle, guys, like I said, none of this has been touched, which is brilliant news. I just need the front panel. And the best bit of news, here's the inner part of the chassis leg. It's not being touched. And even like the top part of the frame that joins up to the chassis leg. Because obviously, you remember, it was this part, this area where it got hit. Nothing has been touched at all. I'm really chuffed with this one. And I'll just show you the inner part of the chassis leg. And I'll show you the driver's side to compare. There's no kinks, bulges, nothing at all. It's not being touched. And there you go, guys. Another thing I just quickly looked, because obviously I personally own a 3-litre TDI A4. The common thing on them is the harmonic balancer, so the crankshaft pulley. Basically, you've got the rubber in the centre. They crack and they can separate from the metal part, which when they separate, obviously the alternator belt comes off. Can't even see any cracks or marks, but obviously I'll look further into this in a later video. Obviously at all the pulleys, the belt, just check the condition. Obviously because the car's now got 66,000 miles, you know, while the front end's off, if the belt's got any cracking, might as well just change it. Also, one thing I did forget to say, this being a 3-litre TDI, obviously I've just said about this belt, that the rad pack didn't get pushed back. This belt is just for the auxiliaries, so like alternator, AC pump, water pump, because this is timing chain driven, which the chain's on the back of the engine on these ones. So that's the front end stripped down. With the bonnet, we know it's damaged. We know the hinges are going to need replacing and the bonnet actuators. So I will remove this when I've got the new parts. it will just be in the way if not. So what do you reckon, guys? Did I get lucky with this Touareg? I personally think I do. The main reason, obviously, the rad pack being alright, and I just need the front panel and also the crash bar. All that really does save on the pennies. So I've got two piles. Here's the bad pile. Here's the good one just over there in the jack. What do you reckon, guys? Do you reckon I got lucky on this one? I personally think I do. Let us know in the comments. There is a couple of bits missing off the bad pile, which obviously the bumper, etc. I think I did get very lucky. So the crash bar is on a level surface. You know, I'm honest, I'll rather show you. I'm sure that's the passenger side. Obviously there's the driver side. They're both on the ground. There's no movement at all. And funny enough, if you see the foam for the crash bar, the zip ties, that's actually factory. I see it on the Genuine Workshop manual. So yeah, that ain't me. Yeah, let us know in the comments what you thought to today's video, guys. Appreciate you for watching. If you did like today's video, smash that like button. And if you're not subscribed, guys, click that subscribe button. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.